The night breathes like it remembers sin. Omegas are lined beneath the torches, bare feet on cold stone, silence thick as incense, gold changes hands, names are erased, and somewhere in that sea of trembling voices, one dares to speak. Do it. You paid for me. The crowd laughs. The Alpha doesn't. He steps forward, rogue, unclaimed, danger carved into every line of him. The moment his eyes find hers, the world forgets to turn. What begins as a transaction becomes something that will set kingdoms on fire. Beat, low, slow whisper. If you can still breathe after that, you might just survive what's coming next. Like, subscribe, and send hypes to keep this story alive, because the shadows only open for those who dare to step inside. The night smells of wet stone and fear. They drag her into the grand hall beneath a crimson moon, barefoot, veiled, marked as one of the condemned. Chains sing with every step she takes. Omegas keep their heads down. She doesn't. Her gaze meets the crowd like a spark meets oil. The nobles whisper, the bitters smirk. And then he enters, a shadow wrapped in scars, a rogue alpha with no crest, no pack, no right to stand among them. And yet when he does, the torches dim as if the air itself bows. The auctioneer laughs when the alpha offers no gold, only a blade still dripping from another fight. Blood for property? He mocks. The alpha says nothing, until she turns her head, lips trembling, but voice steady. Do it. 2 words. The crowd freezes. The alpha obeys. The hammer falls. The hall erupts in noise. But within that single breath, between command and compliance, something ancient wakes. He walks toward her, each step heavy with quiet defiance. She should kneel. She doesn't. He should dominate. He doesn't. For the first time, the alpha obeys, and the omega does not run. When the chains loosen, her trembling isn't fear anymore, it's power learning its skin. And when he reaches for her not to claim but to steady, the air between them burns hotter than the torches. Outside, the pack howls for blood. Inside, 2 souls ignite the first spark of a war neither meant to start. Fade to black. The auction is over. But the story, the real one, has just begun. The night after the auction, the rogue rides through rain-soaked woods with her bound behind him. No words, just the rhythm of hooves and thunder. His cloak snaps in the wind. Her chains echo it. When they reach the ruined keep that reeks of dust and exile, he cuts the bonds, not to free her, but to test what she'll do when there's nothing left to fight against. She doesn't run. She looks at him as if measuring how far obedience can bend before it breaks. He should command. He doesn't. She should fear. She won't. When he tells her to sleep, she stands instead by the firelight, trembling but unbroken. The air between them thickens until even the flames hold still. Her voice comes soft, the same 2 words that began it all. Do it. The command folds back on itself, no longer her surrender, but his. He moves, slow and deliberate, until the distance between them vanishes into breath and heartbeat. Every motion feels like defiance disguised as restraint, each glance a promise neither dares to speak aloud. Outside, wolves cry. Inside, silence answers them. Slow, molten, unholy silence. By dawn, he realizes obedience is no longer his burden, it's his craving. And she, the purchased one, has just learned the cost of being obeyed. The morning light spills through the cracks of the ruined keep, pale and unforgiving. She wakes before him, drawn to the torn cloak draped over a chair. The fabric is rough, dark with ash, and stitched into its edge, almost hidden, is a crest she's seen only in forbidden books, the mark of the fallen royal line, the blood that once ruled and ruined her kind. Her breath stills. He lied. When he stirs, she folds the cloak and pretends not to know. The silence between them becomes a blade, thin, sharp, waiting to cut. She hides his secret beneath small smiles and sharper words, and every time he looks at her, She sees the flicker of guilt he's trying to bury. By dusk, the forest trembles with approaching riders. The crowned soldiers, hunting the rogue Alpha and the stolen Omega. The sound of horns splits the air. The pack hides in the shadows. He reaches for his sword. She stops him. "Let me." Before he can speak, she steps into the open, chains still clinking, veil half torn, and bows before the soldiers with perfect grace. "He's not my captor," she says. "He's my claimant. By law, he owns me." The soldiers hesitate. The law is ancient, cruel, and absolute. They leave, muttering about fools who buy cursed blood. When the danger passes, he turns to her, gratitude rough in his throat. But she doesn't want his thanks. "Don't look at me like I'm something to protect," she says. "Then what are you?" he asks. Her lips curve. "Not kind, not cruel. Your debt." The words hit harder than any strike. In that moment, he realizes her mercy is the first wound she's ever given him. The storm hasn't started yet, but the thunder is already walking toward them. The storm finds them before the border does. Clouds crawl over the mountains, black and bruised, tearing open with thunder that sounds like an army marching through the sky. The wind screams against stone. Rain cuts like shards of glass. They find shelter in the hollow of an abandoned watchtower. Half walls, a dying fire pit, echoes of ghosts. His wound runs deep, the kind that steals strength quietly. She tears her veil and presses the cloth against him, her fingers trembling though her eyes stay steady. He doesn't flinch from the pain. He watches her. The way her breath catches each time the lightning flares. The way defiance looks fragile when framed in shadow and flame. When she binds the wound, he reaches for her wrist, stopping her hands. Not in command, just to still the shaking. "You should rest," he murmurs. She shakes her head. "You should stop looking at me like that." Silence stretches. The tower groans. The rain hammers harder. He lets go first. She doesn't move away. The night slows, the air thick with words neither will say. Every breath feels borrowed, every heartbeat too loud. When she finally closes her eyes, it isn't sleep. It's surrender to the sound of him breathing beside her, steady and raw. Outside, the storm rages. Inside, there's a quieter one that burns without fire, consumes without touch, and leaves both of them changed. By dawn, the clouds break. He rises, steadier than he should be, as if her touch rewrote something inside him. She steps into the pale light, hair damp, gaze unreadable. They don't speak of what passed between breaths. They don't need to, because something shifted. The rogue who obeyed now watches her like she's the law, and the Omega who trembled now walks beside him like she's the storm that taught him how to kneel. The royal banners rise again, black and gold, shimmering with the scent of war. In the court of blood and bone, the king's voice rolls like thunder. "Find the rogue who defied the bond. Bring back the Omega he stole." The words reach them long before the soldiers do. By dusk, the forests whisper with horns. She stands on a cliff's edge, watching smoke from distant signal fires crawl across the horizon. For the first time, fear doesn't come from being hunted. It comes from knowing what she'll lose if he's caught. He watches her from behind, silent, jaw clenched against something that isn't pain. When she turns, their eyes meet. No chains, no pretense, no distance left to hide behind. "They'll come for me first," she says. "Then they'll meet me first," he replies. She almost smiles, but her heart beats unevenly. There's something in his gaze she never bargained for, something that looks too much like devotion, and far too much like need. They move before dawn, running through ash and rain. The hunt tightens behind them, soldiers, alphas, and ghosts of her old life. Every path they take leads deeper into the wild, deeper into something that feels like ruin and sanctuary at once. When the hounds close in, she orders him to leave. He doesn't. Instead, he catches her wrist, voice low and unshaken. "I bought you once, but this..." His thumb grazes the faint scar on her skin. "This you gave me, And before she can answer, the horns sound again, closer, angrier. He draws his blade. She draws breath. The world narrows to two truths. He will fight for her. She will not let him die for it. The hunt begins. But this time, they are not the prey. The castle looms like a wound reopened. Moonlight spills across marble floors still stained from the last rebellion. Every corner remembers her footsteps. Every shadow remembers her shame. Now she walks those halls again, cloaked and silent, with the rogue disguised in chains beside her. The guards lead them toward the throne room. She keeps her head bowed, hiding the defiance that simmers beneath her calm. He keeps his hands bound, eyes lowered, but the faintest smirk touches his mouth, the kind born of danger, not humor. They move through corridors lined with gold and ghosts. The air hums with recognition. She once belonged here, before being sold. The guards call her the runaway Omega. Unaware, she walks beside the ruin they've been sent to kill. At the council doors, she stumbles intentionally, falling against him. Her hand brushes his, quick, deliberate. A single pulse between them. Wait. Inside, she kneels before the court, pretending to plead. I found him, she says softly. I bring him back as your loyal servant. The king leans forward. Then prove your loyalty, girl. Watch him die. Her heart stutters once. Then she smiles, sweetly, almost cruelly. As you wish. Before the executioners can move, she grabs the rogue's chains and drags him through a side corridor, deeper into the heart of the castle. Alarms rise behind them. Their footsteps echo between the pillars like thunder. When the last door slams, they find themselves cornered in a hidden chamber, dust thick in the air. He looks at her, breathless, half laughing, half burning. You planned this? I planned nothing, she breathes, pressing against him, voice a whisper trembling between command and confession. But I need you to make it look real. Her eyes lift to his. Claim me. For a heartbeat, the world disappears, the shouts, the chase, the crown. There is only pulse and proximity, defiance and desire locked in one impossible breath. He moves, obeying the order she never meant to give, and in the space between their hearts, war begins again. Outside, the horns blare. Inside, time forgets to move. When they pull apart, both are marked, neither by chains nor by mercy, but by something older, hungrier, and far less forgiving. The throne room is colder than the night they met. The torches burn blue, casting light that makes every blade gleam like ice. They are dragged in through the main doors, bloodied, silent, bound together by a single chain. The crowd whispers their names as if afraid to speak them too loudly. The king sits upon the high seat, a shadow wearing a crown. She was born beneath me, he says, voice like gravel and venom. And you, rogue without a crest, thought you could touch what belonged to the crown? The rogue lifts his head, slow, unhurried, a smirk twisting the corner of his mouth. I didn't touch, he says. I answered. The guards strike him down. He doesn't flinch. She does, not from fear, but from fury that sears through her calm like lightning through snow. When the king gestures for her to be taken to the altar, her legs tremble once, not from weakness, from knowing the end she dreamed of has finally arrived. She looks at the rogue. He meets her eyes and shakes his head once and a silent don't. Then he does what no alpha has ever done in a royal court. He kneels. The room gasps. His voice breaks the air open, low, rough, steady. She is mine. The words roll like thunder. The chains on his wrists shatter. The walls crack, torches flare. The king rises, crown tilting, the weight of old magic stirring as if the castle itself remembers who truly rules by right of bond. Soldiers rush forward. The rogue moves faster, every strike precise, brutal, silent. She watches him fight as if he's burning from the inside out, as if her name itself is the only thing keeping him upright. He's bleeding again. The throne is falling apart beneath the force of something ancient and vengeful. When it ends, the hall is chaos, stone crumbling, guards fleeing, the king gasping beneath his own crown. She runs to him. He catches her mid-step, pulling her close, his breath ragged. "You shouldn't have followed me into ruin," he murmurs. She smiles through the smoke. "I didn't follow. I led." And when the ceiling cracks above them, raining dust and gold, he leans in close enough for the world to vanish again, voice raw and final. "Then lead me one last time." The throne collapses. The crown hits the floor, and somewhere in the wreckage, their chains turn to dust. The throne room is colder than the night they met. The torches burn blue, casting light that makes every blade gleam like ice. They are dragged in through the main doors, bloodied, silent, bound together by a single chain. The crowd whispers their names as if afraid to speak them too loudly. The king sits upon the high seat, a shadow wearing a crown. "She was born beneath me," he says, voice like gravel and venom. "And you, rogue without a crest, thought you could touch what belonged to the crown?" The rogue lifts his head, slow, unhurried, a smirk twisting the corner of his mouth. "I didn't touch," he says. "I answered." The guards strike him down. He doesn't flinch. She does, not from fear, but from fury that sears through her calm like lightning through snow. When the king gestures for her to be taken to the altar, her legs tremble once. Not from weakness, from knowing the end she dreamed of has finally arrived. She looks at the rogue. He meets her eyes and shakes his head once in a silent don't. Then he does what no alpha has ever done in a royal court. He kneels. The room gasps. His voice breaks the air open. Low, rough, steady. "She is mine." The words roll like thunder. The chains on his wrists shatter. The walls crack. Torches flare. The king rises, crown tilting, the weight of old magic stirring as if the castle itself remembers who truly rules by right of bond. Soldiers rush forward. The rogue moves faster, every strike precise, brutal, silent. She watches him fight as if he's burning from the inside out, as if her name itself is the only thing keeping him upright. He's bleeding again. The throne is falling apart beneath the force of something ancient and vengeful. When it ends, the hall is chaos, stone crumbling, guards fleeing, the king gasping beneath his own crown. She runs to him. He catches her mid-step, pulling her close, his breath ragged. "You shouldn't have followed me into ruin," he murmurs. She smiles through the smoke. "I didn't follow. I led." And when the ceiling cracks above them, raining dust and gold, he leans in close enough for the world to vanish again, voice raw and final. "Then lead me one last time." The throne collapses. The crown hits the floor, and somewhere in the wreckage, their chains turn to dust. The castle dies behind them. Stone screaming, banners burning, the night swallowing every name they used to be. The air tastes of smoke and freedom. He carries her through the forest, her fingers curled weakly into his torn cloak, breath shallow but steady. Each step he takes sounds like defiance carved into the earth. The moon watches, pale and merciless, painting them in silver and ash. When they reach the river's edge, he stops. The world is quiet here, no crowns, no chains, only the whisper of running water and the echo of what they've survived. He sets her down gently, as if she might shatter under the weight of touch. Her voice is barely there. "We have nowhere to go." He brushes a strand of hair from her face, the gesture reverent, almost fearful. "Then we'll make somewhere." For a long while, neither speaks. Only the sound of her breathing, the steady beat of his heart, and the night drawing itself around them like a vow. He leans closer, his words trembling against her skin. Not command, not claim, just truth. "You belong." She trembles, but it isn't fear anymore. It's knowing. It's the realization that belonging was never about chains, or power, or debt. It was about choice. Her gaze lifts to his, soft and sharp all at once. "I do," she whispers. The words break something in him. Not strength, but restraint. His forehead rests against hers, breaths mingling, and for the first time since the blood market, they are equals. No title, no throne, no price. Just two hearts that learned too late what freedom costs. The wind rises, carrying embers from the burning city behind them. Dawn spills gold across their faces. Fragile, new, unpromised. He closes his eyes and exhales, a vow disguised as a confession. I obeyed you once, he murmurs. Now I only follow what you've become. She smiles faintly, that same defiant curve that started a war. Then follow me, Alpha. They step into the light. Two fugitives, two souls reborn from ruin. The bond between them no longer burns. It breathes. And though the world will write them as ghosts, somewhere in the wilds, the legend will whisper that the rogue who obeyed an Omega once never stopped. Fade to white. The fire dies. The myth begins.